After I retired from the factory, I picked up a night shift job as a building manager for a small apartment complex. My hours run from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Mostly I sit in the security room, watching monitors, signing for packages, logging visitors, sometimes calling an ambulance for someone. Not much work, not much pay, but enough to keep me occupied. The security room is small. There's only one glass window facing out, and at night, I usually crack it open a little for air. It was a Wednesday. Light rain had been falling outside, and the humidity had settled in thick. I wiped the desk down more than once, but it stayed sticky. Around 10 p.m. I was checking off the day's deliveries when I heard soft knocks on the window. I looked up. Someone was standing on the other side. She was taller than the window frame and wearing a pale green uniform dress, like an old hospital nurse's. Her arms hung stiff at her sides. Her skin was a blotchy grey-purple, like it had been soaking in water too long. Her head hung low, and her long, black hair fell over her chest. I couldn't see her face. I leaned closer and slid the window open a few inches. "Who are you here to see?" I asked. She didn't answer, just raised one hand and tapped the glass again. Her fingers were long and thin, each joint bulging unnaturally. The hand was huge. I instinctively stepped back, but forced myself to keep my voice steady. "If you're checking in, I'll need to see some ID." She moved slowly, like she was reaching for something in her bag, but far too slow to be normal. I looked up at her collar and saw it was just empty. She didn't have a head. I froze. Thought maybe I was seeing it wrong. Rubbed my eyes and looked again. Same thing. Above her shoulders was a shriveled, blackened stump of flesh, dried out, cut clean. She slowly reached down and set her bag on the ledge beneath the window, then stepped back. I didn't touch the window, but somehow her voice came through anyway inside my head, not my ears. "I want my name." Sweat rolled down my back. My vision whited out for a second. Her voice was impossibly slow. Each word scraped out like a metal gate dragging across pavement. Her bag was still sitting there. I had no idea what was inside, and I sure as hell wasn't going to open it. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Who are you looking for? Give me a room number and I can." She knocked on the glass again. "My name." I shook my head. My hand crept under the desk, feeling for the panic button. Nothing. It didn't work. No sound, no light, no response. "Are you a tenant?" I asked. "You're not on the registry." "If you're a guest, I need a room number before I can let you in." She paused, then pulled a piece of paper from her pocket and pressed it against the window. I leaned in. The handwriting was smudged and messy like a child had scribbled it, but I could just barely make out the words. "I'm a nurse. I live on B1. My heart stopped. "There is no B1. This building doesn't have a basement level. Just the ground floor, the garbage room, and a supply closet." "There's no B1 here," I said, swallowing hard. "You might have the wrong building." She didn't move, just stood there, that headless neck slightly bowed. Her reflection in the window looked like it didn't belong next to mine, like we were from two different worlds, jammed together by glass. I turned to call the police. The landline was dead. My phone too, no bars, no signal. When I looked back, she was gone. The space in front of the window was empty, but the bag was still there. I fought the panic, reached out slowly, and pulled the bag through the crack. Inside was an old leather-bound notebook, the kind hospitals used for daily logs. I opened it. Every page was filled with handwritten notes, patient files, dates going back over 10 years. Each page had the same phrase: basement ward, a named patient. Condition worsening. Recommend transfer. I flipped to the last page. It was blank, except for a photo clipped to the top. It was me. In the photo, I was sitting in this very chair, wearing the same striped shirt I had on right now. The shot was taken from behind, like someone had been standing right behind me. I was certain I'd never been photographed like that. Suddenly, a loud bang hit the glass behind me. I spun around. She was back. This time, she was pressed close, palm flat on the window. Black fluid leaked between her fingers, dripping down the glass like ink. "Give me my name. I don't know who you are," I shouted. "You're not in our system. I can't help you." She tapped the glass again. I knew she wasn't a guest, not a tenant. Not someone who belonged here at all. I shoved the notebook and photo back into her bag and slid it toward the window. She took it quietly, stood there for a moment, then slowly turned and walked down the hallway. I watched her until her shape melted into the shadows of the stairwell. I stayed until 2 a.m. somehow. When my shift ended and the day manager came in, I told him everything. He stared at me like I was sleep-talking, like I dreamed it all. I checked the security footage myself. During the time I talked to her, the screen had gone completely black. I keep working the same shift every night, waiting, but she hasn't come back. I hadn't been sleeping well for a few days. It wasn't insomnia, more like I'd fall asleep, but wake up feeling like I hadn't rested at all. Every morning, my body felt sore and heavy, like someone had been pressing bricks into my shoulders all night. The second I opened my eyes, I wanted to shut them again. But the alarm was going off, and I had to clock in, no choice. I live on the 3rd floor of an old apartment building. There's a breakfast shop downstairs, and starting around 6 a.m., the smell of toasted bagels creeps through the window cracks. Normally, I don't mind it, but those few days it was especially sharp, like there was something in the air that didn't belong. On the 3rd morning, I noticed something weird. After getting up, I went to the bathroom and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, one patch of my hair sticking straight up. I chuckled. But when I walked back to the bedroom to fix the bed, I saw a deep indentation on the pillow's right side, like someone had been lying next to me all night. And it wasn't the kind of dent I'd make just by turning in my sleep. It was the shape of a face, angled directly at mine. I told myself I was overthinking it. I forced myself to ignore it. But that night, barely minutes after lying down, my whole body froze. My heartbeat slowed way down. I'd been on my phone, but the screen suddenly went dark, and I didn't even have the energy to care. I tried to roll over, but something heavy held me down. My eyelids felt like stone. I was awake, I knew I was. It was a strange state to be in, like my soul was stuck between my body and something else, desperate to wake up, but getting pulled into some kind of void. That's when I heard it. Not a sound, a breath, behind me. It was like someone was right at the back of my head, exhaling slowly. Not a normal rhythm and naturally slow. Every breath felt like it was pulling something out from my spine. I didn't dare move. I knew it was watching me, staring, its face almost pressed against my scalp. I had only one thought in my head: don't open your eyes. Don't turn around. Don't give it a chance. I don't know how long I stayed like that. It felt like time had broken, and I was stuck in a single tick of a clock. At some point, I was finally able to move. I sat up in one swift motion. The lights were off, but the street lamps outside leaked through the curtains, outlining the shape of the bookshelf. And then I saw it. Not a thing, a shadow. It stood perfectly still in front of the bookshelf, no face, but its outline was more distinct than any person I'd ever known. It didn't move, but I could feel it looking at me, like something had latched onto my eyes with its mind. The holes where its eyes should have been were like twin pits of smoke, no light, just presence. I didn't blink. I knew if I did, it would get closer. Somehow I made it through the night. When the sun rose, it was gone. I checked the windows, the door still locked. But something in me had snapped. I forced myself to go to work that day. When I walked into the office, my coworker Jared said I looked like death. I gave a weak laugh and said nothing. I couldn't eat my lunch. I sat by the window, staring at the street, wondering one thing: what am I going to do tonight? I started researching sleep paralysis, hallucinations, stress-related symptoms, everything. Every article pointed to the same advice: stick to a routine. Avoid caffeine, stay off screens before bed. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't use social media. I wasn't staying up late. I didn't even have anyone to stress me out. That night, I decided to sleep on the couch. I closed my bedroom door, left the TV on, and set the volume just high enough to drown out the noise in my head. I pulled a blanket over me, rested my head against the armrest, and stared up at a faint crack in the ceiling. I thought I'd won, but in the middle of the night, I opened my eyes. Not because I wanted to. Something pulled me awake. It wasn't a sound or a touch, it was a feeling. I wasn't alone, I froze. Then I heard it coming closer. Drip, drip, drip. Not footsteps, like something wet was dripping from the air and hitting the carpet. Each drop felt like a knock on the inside of my skull. I told myself not to turn around. I couldn't help it. Slowly, I leaned my head back. It was behind me. This time it didn't hide. It crouched by my shoulder, its face inches from mine. I could feel its breath, a thick, syrupy stench, like rotting fruit turned to slime. It didn't move, but it was watching me. I knew it was waiting for me to speak, or scream, or react. I closed my eyes and forced myself to breathe deeply. My heart pounded like a drum, but I didn't make a sound. I don't know why it didn't touch me. Maybe it just wanted me to know it was there. I did nothing. I endured. When daylight came, I shot up off the couch like a drowning man gasping for air. I immediately called my brother and said I needed to stay at his place for a few days. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Bring your own pillow, mine sucks." I stayed in his guest room for 3 nights. Those nights were peaceful. I started thinking maybe it was over. I even laughed at myself a little. On the 4th day, I went back to grab some clothes. It was broad daylight. I opened my closet and the smell hit me again. That sickly, wet, rotting smell. Like something dead had been left to melt. I didn't stick around. My brother helped me move out all the important stuff. I found a smaller place to rent for now. Dinner that night was a burger and fries. I'd taken the patty out of the freezer that morning to defrost, and the fries were from a frozen supermarket bag. I tossed them in the air fryer, sprinkled some sea salt. They actually came out pretty good. After eating, I did what I always do, stood at the sink to wash the dishes. It was already past 9, and the sky outside was pitch black. I was washing plates, my eyes naturally drifting toward the window. I didn't notice anything at first. That window faces the backyard on a normal day. The only thing that might pass by is a neighbor's dog or a squirrel. But that night, by the time I was on my 3rd plate, I felt a weird chill crawl across my scalp. At first, I thought it was just a breeze after all. The kitchen vent behind me was running. But that feeling of being watched kept growing, like it was slowly tightening around me. I stopped. Out of the corner of my eye, I glanced toward the window and someone was standing outside. He wasn't moving. His face was practically pressed against the glass, lips curled ever so slightly like he was smiling. But it wasn't a friendly smile. Not a neighbor's wave or a polite nod. It was the kind of smile that said, "I've been waiting for you to notice me." I froze right there. The water was still running, but I couldn't bring myself to turn around. I couldn't even be sure I was really seeing it, but that face was right there, barely 3 feet away, staring through the glass. I managed to tilt my body just enough to toss the spoon aside, then turned and walked straight out of the kitchen. My head was spinning when I got to the living room. I dropped onto the couch, heart pounding so loud I could barely think. I thought about calling someone, but who? The police? He hadn't broken in. He was just standing there. After a few minutes, I forced myself to go back to the kitchen. The window was empty. Maybe I was too tired. I had worked 3 late nights that week, stayed at my computer until 11 each night. My eyes and neck had been killing me. But that feeling, that watched feeling, didn't go away just because he was gone. If anything, it felt worse, like he knew I'd come back to check, and had left just in time, so I wouldn't see him again. I didn't see the face again over the next few days. I changed a light bulb in my bedroom lamp to a softer yellow one, trying to create a more relaxing vibe. I made a routine: hot showers before bed, calming music, even a glass of warm milk now and then. Still, I kept waking up at 3 a.m. like clockwork. One night, I couldn't sleep at all. I opened the bedroom door and stood in the hallway with all the lights on. I even taped paper over the kitchen window, just to block out any reflection. I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone while a rerun of a baseball game played on TV, outside. The night was filled with the sound of insects. Around 3:30, I felt the urge to pee. I walked into the bathroom and glanced in the mirror. There was a handprint on my face, faint, but unmistakable, like someone had gently run a cold palm down the left side of my cheek. I touched it. My skin didn't hurt, but the feeling was still there, like something had lingered a little too long and left a mark behind. I forced myself to sleep, pulled the blanket over me, shut my eyes, stayed still. A few evenings later, I was in the kitchen again, searing a chicken breast, thinking about whether I should make a Caesar salad to go with it. I turned to grab the lettuce from the fridge, then felt a tiny vibration, like the faint tap of a fingernail on glass. I turned my head slowly. That face was back at the window. This time, he wasn't smiling. His eyes were wide open. His mouth gaped in a silent scream, frozen mid-howl. I stumbled back a few steps, knocked a pan off the wall behind me. It clattered to the floor. I looked down to pick it up, looked back up, and the window was empty. I don't remember how I got to sleep that night. The next day, I took the day off work and spent the entire day curled up on the couch, too scared to move. Around dusk, my phone buzzed. A notification from the little security camera I'd installed at the back door, motion detected. I pulled up the live feed. There was a blurry figure, standing outside the door. He didn't try to come in. He just stood there, still. 2 weeks later, I moved out of that house. I didn't say much to the landlord, just told him the location didn't suit me anymore, said I was looking for something closer to the city. He asked if there was something wrong with the house. I just smiled and shook my head. The night before I moved, I went back to pack the last of my things. After I finished, I stood in the kitchen and gave the place one last look. The window was spotless, nothing looked out of place. The glass shimmered with the glow of the setting sun. My reflection stared back at me, still and silent. But as I turned to leave, I saw it in the corner of the window's reflection. A second shadow, taller than me, standing behind me. I turned around and there was nothing, just like the shadow had never been there at all.